Okay, here's quite a collection of cannons, and they're being sold by James D. Julia auctioneers today. Now, where do they come from? Basically, this collection, man who collected them here, and here's some of the descriptive text. I don't know if you can read that or not. We'll try and get some stills of this. And here's one of the cannons that's not here in this room. It's a heavy 12-pounder field gun. Here's Julia's contact information. And let's go ahead and take a rundown of these cannons. Here's a nice 1847 dated Ames 6-pounder field gun. Very nice condition. Here's a Krupp 1893 dated breech loading field gun in really excellent condition, down to the rifling. You could shoot this, you know, knock you out of a squirrel, as they say, at 1,000 yards or so. And here's a better view of it. There's a cleaning brush in that little basket. There's a loading tool over here to push the projectiles in, because it's a bag loaded gun. You put a powder bag in behind the projectile, close it, and then insert a friction primer and fire it. This 75mm Krupp field gun, and there's the nomenclature Friedrich Krupp. Here's a Hotchkiss 2-pounder mountain gun. A lot of literature out there. Other people have them, so I'm not going to go into any great detail. There are 2 of them in this auction, and there's some ammunition for it in this more modern ammo can. Here's a 3-inch Parrott rifle from the Civil War. Got very nice markings. You could shoot this if you wanted to. Made at West Point Foundry. This is gun number 97, made in 1864 at West Point Foundry. The tube weighs 880 pounds. This is a 53mm Krupp. Well, Krupp bought the Gruson company. Gruson was in Magdeburg, and in 1891 they made this export 53mm rapid fire field gun. And it was designed in 1891 for fixed ammunition, smokeless powder. And it has some unique features. We'll just go over and look at the breech mechanism. It has a rapid fire breech setting where when you close the breech, it drops the firing pin. See that? Kind of neat. It also has top carriage traverse, whereas if you need to shift the point of aim laterally, you can turn this hand wheel and the whole top carriage, and thus the gun, changes angle. Got the original sight and everything. Here's a 3-inch breech loading rifle, U.S. Navy, the 500-pound model. Here's the same description of gun, the 350-pound model. Slightly different shaped barrel, smaller gun for ships with smaller boats, because these were always made for taking ashore with Marines. Here's the other Hotchkiss mountain gun, 42mm, 1.65 inch. Wonderful, large, heavy model of a Soviet era model 1936 130mm naval gun with everything scaled down. And it doesn't fire, but everything else on it works. The gunners have little leather seats to sit on. The breech opens. It's an interrupted thread breech, as you can see here. Just a wonderful piece. This is a Maxim Nordenfeld 42mm rapid fire gun from one of the Spanish ships in the Spanish fleet that was defeated at Manila. Couple of Dutch family cannons, very fancy bronze barrels, dated 1671. So they're quite early and they're beautifully cast. See the coat of arms there on cute little wooden carriages. And here's a kind of famous pair of cannons from Viscount William Courtenay, nicknamed Kitty, who inhabited Powderham Castle in England. The family that owned it had 13 siblings. At the time William Courtenay ordered these cannons in 1775. He was the only male heir. All the others were females. And there's a long story about that type of thing, which I don't have time to go into here. It's a little bit sordid as well. But they definitely belong to him. They were made by Thomas English in London in 1775 and so marked. There's what we think is an early harpoon gun with a percussion lock, most of which is present. This is an Ames small bore, small bronze ship's cannon from 1861. It's clearly dated 1861 on the trunnion, and Ames Company founders, Chicopee, Massachusetts on the other trunnion. This is an Afghan 7-pounder mountain gun. Here we have a 10-inch U.S. Civil War era siege mortar. The whole thing weighs about 2 tons. This is registry number 7, made at Fort Pitt Foundry in 1862, as you can see from the marks. It's a massive, monstrous thing, which we never got to fire, unfortunately. Wanted to. This is an English military 3-pounder mountain gun mounted on a ship's carriage with beautiful coats of arms and so forth. And at some point it was rifled with 8-groove rifling, and we have no idea where that came from or when it was added. There's a wonderful little Spanish howitzer that was used by Lieutenant William Roby of the Royal Artillery against the French at the Battle of Naval. He had several of these pieces and gun crews to man them, and they pretty much devastated the French by getting a higher position and bombarding them, hitting them with canister, whatever, but they carried the day. And this is a presentation to Roby's father after he was killed at the Battle of Waterloo. He was in 23 battles by the time he was 21 years old. This is a beautiful pair of Dutch ship's cannons, dated 1654. And they would have been probably aboard a wealthy merchant ship. They were cast by Cornelis Oederoog in 1654, so marked and dated. And this is a beautiful pair of French model 1786 swivel guns, 1-pounders. It's a heavy swivel gun. It weighs about 180 pounds, got a 2.5-inch bore, and I've shot this one on a field carriage using concrete-filled tennis balls, and it was a wonderful amount of fun. Here's a wonderful, highly elaborate lantaka from the Philippines, and it's inscribed underneath something about Muhammad Yusuf. It's about 5 feet long and weighs about 160 pounds. and it's a very good casting. A lot of the more quickly made ones are essentially crap, but this one really has some beautiful casting work on it. Now we're over to the Spanish 8-pounder. This is a short 8-pounder, 6 feet long and 1,400 pounds. You know, you call that short? Well, the Spanish did, because they had a bigger one. It was also an 8-pounder. It was cast in Swivel in 1803, so marked. It's got the huge coat of arms of Carlos IV on it. Rectangular form dolphins. Its name is the crab, El Cangrejo. The Spanish and the French named their guns individually, and this is the crab. Now, we're not sure exactly how they picked the names. More research is needed there, but I think probably if you were a city planner and working with an architect on a subdivision, the process might be similar to naming streets, which is really not very scientific, and I don't expect that there was a great deal of rigor involved in naming the cannons either. Tells you where the copper came from. This is a very rare carriage. There's only 3 of these in the U.S. 2 of them are in little towns in Maine, one being Lubeck. This is a partial carriage that goes to an early U.S. 6-pounder field gun, being over here a model 1834 6-pounder field gun, in nice condition with all the marks showing, made by McClurg and Wade in Pittsburgh in 1837. Inspected by James Wolfe Ripley. It's gun number 107. Go back here so we don't lose our place. This is a U.S. 12-pounder mountain howitzer made by Ames, serial number 1, dated 1861. Here is an extremely rare 3-pounder field gun made at Springfield, Massachusetts by James Byers circa 1796. And we have some invoices showing that he was casting this type of field 3-pounder as well as 6-pounders at that time. This is a Revolutionary War U.S. naval 4-pounder. Weighs about 900 pounds. This is a broken, blown up U.S. model 1819 6-pounder. The model 1819s were called walking sticks. They were just designed too thin at the breech, and you can see the results. This probably killed a whole gun crew, or a good part of one, when this gun exploded. We don't know anything, unfortunately, about the particular event except from these results, and we can assume that it wasn't pretty. Here's the only surviving Treadwell iron and steel 6-pounder experimental, ordered, 1 of 8 ordered by the U.S. Army. This is the only survivor. It was made to the same specifications externally as the bronze model 1841 6-pounder gun, except that to accommodate his peculiar design, a trunnion band had to be added. That's how he held the trunnions on to this iron and steel composite gun.